A humble grandmother, standing next to her 8-year-old grandson, carefully counts her coins to pay for her groceries. But the impatient cashier begins to humiliate her in front of everyone, throwing cruel words that cut like blades. With each passing second, the weight of shame grows in her eyes as she struggles to maintain her dignity for the sake of her grandson. What no one notices is that just behind her in line, a discreet man wearing a black jacket is watching everything with a serious gaze. And what he does next is so unexpected, it will leave you in tears. Before we continue the story, let us know where you're watching from. If you enjoy stories like this, subscribe to the channel because tomorrow at 12:30 p.m., we have another special story waiting for you. The sun was shining brightly, but a gentle breeze softened the warmth as Mary walked with Liam toward the grocery store. Her clothes were modest, worn from years of use, but always immaculately clean. Liam's small, confident hand held hers tightly, his 8-year-old eyes sparkling with curiosity and innocence. He gazed around in awe at the store's towering shelves filled with goods he rarely had the chance to take home. Mary examined each price tag carefully, choosing items as if every decision was critical. In the cart were only the essentials, a bag of rice, a carton of milk, and a loaf of bread. Simple necessities she knew she could afford. Meanwhile, Liam's attention was drawn to the vibrant packaging of sweets and cookies, his excitement evident as they walked past the cookie aisle. Mary hesitated, her eyes locked onto a familiar package, a box of chocolate cookies with a blue and white label. Her chest tightened at the sight, the memory of Emily, her daughter, flooding back. Emily always bought that exact box for Liam. Emily had passed away 2 years ago in a sudden car accident that left the family reeling. Mary barely had time to grieve, she had to stay strong for Liam. The promise she made to Emily still echoed in her mind daily, to care for Liam and give him as much happiness as possible, even if it meant sacrificing her own well-being. "Grandma, these are the ones Mom used to get me. Can we get them?" Liam asked, his eyes lighting up with joyful remembrance. Mary felt a lump rise in her throat. Something about the look on his face made all her struggles seem worth it, but she also knew her budget was already stretched thin. After a moment of hesitation, she picked up the box and placed it gently in the cart. Emily's voice seemed to echo in her mind, urging her to keep Liam's smile alive, even if it came at a personal cost. "Of course, sweetheart," she said with a warm smile, masking her internal worry. The narrator interjected empathetically, like a silent observer. Mary was resilient. She had lost her daughter, faced financial hardships, and adjusted to a simpler life, yet she never let Liam feel the weight of her burdens. Living on a modest pension and with limited resources, every trip to the grocery store was an exercise in balance, necessity versus indulgence, essentials versus a small spark of joy. But no matter what, saying no to Liam's hopeful smile felt impossible. Mary calculated the coins in her pocket as they approached the checkout, silently fearing they might not be enough. She would do anything to keep Liam's smile. But she wasn't prepared for what would happen next. Mary approached the checkout counter cautiously, trying to remain calm. She carefully placed her few items on the counter while Liam excitedly held the package of cookies with both hands. "These are the cookies Mom always used to buy for me," Liam said with a smile, looking up at Mary. Brad, the cashier, appeared tired and annoyed. He glanced at Mary and her cart, and his expression shifted when he noticed the small pouch of coins she pulled from her bag. He let out a loud, exaggerated sigh, ensuring everyone around noticed his impatience. "Coins? Seriously? This isn't a bank, lady," he said, crossing his arms. His voice carried an irritated tone that only made Mary's discomfort grow. Visibly uneasy, Mary began counting her coins with trembling hands. Liam looked back and forth between his grandmother and the cashier, sensing the tension but not fully understanding what was happening. Brad continued his remarks, completely indifferent to their impact. "You couldn't count these at home before coming here and holding everyone up," he said, shaking his head as he glanced at the growing line of customers. "Folks, I hope you're comfortable. This is going to take forever." Murmurs began among the customers, and Mary felt her face flush. She tried to quicken her pace, but her hands trembled even more under the pressure. "I'm sorry," she murmured, barely audible, as she continued counting. Brad let out a sarcastic laugh and threw out another jab. "Sorry doesn't cut it, lady. Maybe next time, bring a card like normal people." A man in the line tried to step in. "Hey, that's unnecessary. Let her pay at her own pace." Brad responded with a cynical smile. "You're welcome to come here and count these coins yourself, buddy. Meanwhile, I'll try to keep the line moving." Liam lightly tugged on Mary's sleeve, noticing her tension. "It's okay, Grandma. Don't be sad," he whispered softly. Mary simply nodded, trying to maintain her composure as she counted the remaining coins. Then, she realized she didn't have enough. Taking a deep breath, she tried to hold back tears. She looked at Liam, who was still holding the package of cookies. With a shaky voice, she said, I think we'll leave the cookies. Just the other items, please." Liam, understanding what was happening, forced a smile in an attempt to lighten the situation. "It's okay, Grandma. I wasn't really in the mood for cookies anyway," he said, his small voice filled with tenderness. Mary's heart broke. Liam's words were an effort to protect her, but she knew how much it cost him. Brad grabbed the cookies disdainfully and set them aside. Finally, he rolled his eyes and said, "Maybe now we can finish this line." He looked at the customers behind Mary and added with a sarcastic smile, "Thanks for your patience, folks. Not everyone knows how to shop properly." A few muffled chuckles echoed through the store, while others remained silent, visibly uncomfortable with the scene. Brad then added, as if addressing Mary but clearly wanting everyone to hear, "It would be so much easier for everyone if people were a little more prepared when they come shopping." Mary tried to ignore the comment, continuing to count her coins, but her fingers shook more than ever. Liam held her hand tightly, trying to comfort her. Brad, noticing her reaction, couldn't resist one last jab. "This isn't charity, ma'am. If you can't pay, maybe you should think twice before grabbing things you can't afford." At that moment, a tall man in a black jacket and dark sunglasses stepped forward from the line. He slowly removed his sunglasses, revealing a serious, focused gaze. His presence was impossible to ignore. "That's enough," he said, his deep voice echoing through the store. His calm but firm tone silenced the entire line. Everyone turned to look at him, including Brad, who now seemed to realize that his actions had been witnessed. It was time to step in. As Mary struggled to finish counting her coins, Brad didn't hold back his sarcastic remarks. "Maybe it would be easier if she came back another day, when she has actual money," he said, glancing at the customers behind her as if expecting applause. "After all, no one here has all day." Mary kept her head down, not responding, but Liam clutched the package of cookies tighter. His wide eyes darted between Brad and his grandmother. The boy sensed something was wrong but didn't know how to help. "Seriously, ma'am," Brad continued, his tone even sharper, "do you think you have unlimited time here? Other people are waiting to pay. If you can't afford everything, maybe you shouldn't take so much." The tension in the air was palpable. Some customers murmured in disapproval of Brad's behavior, while others simply watched in discomfort. That's when the tall man in the black jacket and dark sunglasses stepped forward in the line. He had been observing the scene for a while, his sharp eyes fixed on Brad. When Brad made another sarcastic comment, the man finally spoke up. "Do you always treat your customers like this, or is today just a special occasion? His voice was deep but calm, each word carefully measured. Brad looked up, surprised by the interruption. And who are you exactly? Her lawyer, he scoffed, trying to maintain control of the situation. The man slowly removed his sunglasses, revealing a serious and determined gaze. His presence was commanding, but Brad still didn't seem to recognize him. No, the man replied firmly. Just someone who doesn't tolerate disrespect. The murmurs among the customers grew louder. Some began to realize who was standing in front of them, but Brad remained oblivious. He rolled his eyes and tried to brush it off. Look, sir, this isn't disrespect. I'm just trying to speed things up. This lady is holding up the line with her sack of coins. You think respect is optional in your job? The man asked, tilting his head slightly. She's paying, just like everyone else. What makes you think you have the right to treat her this way? Brad faltered for a moment but quickly regained his defensive posture. Sir, I'm just saying it's not fair to the other customers. Everyone here is in a hurry. Fair? The man repeated with a slight smile. What's not fair is making a grandmother and her grandson feel humiliated just because you're impatient. Maybe you should rethink what fairness really means. Brad opened his mouth to retort, but the murmurs in the line interrupted him. Wait, is that Keanu Reeves? Someone whispered, loud enough to draw attention. Brad's eyes widened in shock, his expression shifting from arrogance to disbelief. Keanu Reeves, he stammered. Keanu stepped closer, leaning slightly toward Brad. That's right. And now you know who's asking you to treat people with dignity. Keanu turned to Mary and Liam, his expression softening. He glanced at the cookies in Liam's hands and said, "These cookies look delicious. I think they should definitely go home with you today." Mary tried to speak, but the words wouldn't come. She could only nod, her emotions overwhelming her. Keanu then looked back at Brad and asked, "Cancel this transaction for me. It must take a long time to avoid a purchase, right?" Brad, still flustered, responded hesitantly. Well, yeah, I mean, it depends, but it can take some time. That's a shame, Keanu said with a calm smile. Because we're going to cancel this purchase now. Brad looked at him, confused. Cancel? But you just paid. Keanu shrugged. I did. But I have a better idea. Let's make another purchase, a real one. Mary and Liam deserve much more than this. And you, Brad, can use the time to reflect on how you treat people. Turning back to Mary and Liam, Keanu smiled warmly. Let's grab another cart and do a proper shopping trip. I want you to pick out everything you really need. And Liam, you can pick out some toys too. Mary shook her head, her voice trembling. I can't accept this. It's too much. Keanu gently took her hand and said softly, You've done so much for him. Now it's my turn to help. Sometimes, accepting help is the hardest and most courageous thing we can do. Liam looked up at Mary with an eager smile. Can we, Grandma? Please. She took a deep breath and nodded. Thank you, truly, from the bottom of my heart. Keanu grabbed a cart and began leading them down the aisles. Mary hesitated with each item, but Keanu encouraged her. Take what you need. Don't worry about the price. Let's make sure you and Liam are set for a while. Liam, grinning wider than he had in months, pointed out toys and treats. Keanu laughed and said, If your grandma says yes, it goes in the cart. As the cart filled up, Keanu turned to Brad one last time. Remember, Brad, Keanu said, his voice calm but firm, kindness is the one thing that truly changes the world. Think about that while you void that transaction. The customers watched the scene unfold, many visibly moved and inspired by Keanu's generosity. Mary held Keanu's hand tightly as Liam clutched the now full cart of groceries. "Let's pay now," Keanu said, taking charge at the checkout. This time, he personally managed the transaction, ensuring everything went smoothly. Keanu guided Mary and Liam to the checkout counter, where a cart brimming with groceries, clothes, toys, and essentials awaited them. Liam, visibly more cheerful, held a small toy truck in his hands, clutching it carefully as if he couldn't believe it was truly his. "Let's pay for all this," Keanu said calmly to the cashier. The new cashier, someone kind and professional, had replaced Brad, who had been sent to reorganize the stockroom. The cashier, visibly moved by the scene, quickly completed the transaction. Mary, her eyes still glistening with tears, held on to Keanu's arm, looking at him with a mix of gratitude and disbelief. "This is too much, Keanu," she whispered. "I'll never be able to repay you for this." Keanu looked at her warmly and replied, "It's not about repayment, it's about helping when we can. You've done so much for Liam. Now, it's my turn to give something back." Customers still in the store began clapping, some shouting words of encouragement. "This is incredible," someone cheered. "He's not just a movie star, he's a role model. Bravo, Keanu." An elderly woman approached Mary, taking her hand gently. "My dear, you deserve this. What a beautiful gesture he's made. Take good care of that boy, and remember, you're never alone." Mary thanked her, still emotional, while Liam looked up at Keanu with admiration shining in his eyes. "Thank you, sir," Liam said, his voice full of awe. "You're like a real-life hero." Keanu knelt to Liam's eye level, smiling. "You know, Liam," he said gently, "real heroes are the ones who take care of the people they love, just like your grandma does for you every day." As the scene unfolded, Brad, watching from a distance, finally mustered the courage to approach. Visibly embarrassed and struggling for words, he said, I'm sorry. I shouldn't have treated you like that. I was wrong." Keanu regarded him for a moment, but his gaze held no judgment. With a calm tone, he said, "You don't need to know someone's story to treat them with respect. Kindness is a choice, Brad, and we all have the power to make it. Use this moment to be better." Brad lowered his head, clearly moved by the response, and walked back to the stockroom, silently promising himself to change. A life forever changed. In the days that followed, Mary still struggled to process everything that had happened. She and Liam were at home, organizing their groceries, when the phone rang. It was an unexpected call. "Hello." Mary answered, her voice slightly apprehensive. "Hi, Mary. This is Keanu." Mary nearly dropped the phone. "Keanu? I didn't expect to hear from you." "I hope you're doing well," Keanu said warmly. "I called because I wanted to share something. I've spoken to some people, and we've decided to do more for you and Liam. I want to fund his education. He'll have access to the best opportunities we can provide." Mary was silent for a moment, trying to absorb what she had just heard. "This is unbelievable," she whispered. "I don't even know how to thank you." "There's no need to thank me," Keanu replied. "Just keep being the amazing grandmother you already are." A story that touched the world. Meanwhile, the story of Keanu and Mary had already spread across the internet. A customer had recorded the moment Keanu stepped in at the store, and the video quickly went viral. Thousands of comments flooded social media with messages of hope and inspiration. This is the kind of example the world needs. Keanu Reeves is an angel on earth. This reminds me to be kinder in my daily life. The grocery store also underwent changes, inspired by the story's impact. The manager announced new training programs for employees, focusing on empathy and customer respect. Brad, at the center of the incident, volunteered to lead the training, determined to make amends for his mistakes. He also sought out Mary to apologize again, this time with sincerity. "I didn't know what you were going through," he admitted. "That's no excuse, but I want you to know, I'm working to be a better person." Mary accepted his apology, touched by his humility. A new chapter. A few weeks later, Mary and Liam were at the park. Liam, holding a new soccer ball he had picked out during their shopping trip, ran around joyfully. Mary sat on a bench, watching him with a smile of deep contentment, feeling a peace she hadn't felt in years. As she admired Liam, a black car pulled up nearby. Keanu stepped out, dressed casually, carrying a small package. "Hi, Mary," he said with a warm smile. "I thought you and Liam might like this." He handed her the package. Inside were framed photos of Mary and Liam, smiling at the store that day, along with a message. "To remind you that kindness always wins." Mary hugged him, her emotions overwhelming her. "You didn't just change our lives, Keanu," she whispered. "You gave us hope." Keanu smiled and replied, "You've inspired me just as much as I hope I've inspired you. Keep being incredible."